Scoodly doodly doo, it's time for another Welch review. Scoodly doodly doo doo.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of the Welch Review. I hope you guys have been staying cool because it's been scorching out there. Today's video, we are talking about the newest Marvel movie to hit theaters, and that is Taika Waititi's Thor, Love and Thunder. And you're going to see a lot of familiar faces from previous movies. Jamie Alexander is back as Lady Sif. She was in Thor 1, Thor 2, Thor 3, and she was on TV in the show Blind Spot with Sullivan Stapleton, and the last Stand with Arnold Schwarzenegger. You also have Chris Hemsworth himself coming back as Thor, so Thor 1, 2, 3. He's also in the Netflix show Spiderhead, which I haven't seen yet, but I plan on. Then Taika Waititi is back as Korg. He also the director, but he did Jojo Rabbit, What We Do in the Shadows, The Hunt for Wilder People. He's pretty much everywhere. I think he's even doing a Star Wars movie right now. And then you have Russell Crowe playing Zeus, and we'll talk about him a little later. From Gladiator, Master and Commander, American Gangster, pretty much like every Ridley Scott film, Russell Crowe. You know who I'm talking about. And then, I don't know. I'll save him because it's very exciting. I'm very excited about that guy. But we have also Natalie Portman. I already said Jamie Alexander. Natalie Portman is back as Dr. Jane Foster, and she was in Leon the Professional, Thor 1 and 2, and also in Star Wars episodes 1, 2, and 3. So it's really cool seeing her back in Thor, and Hayden Christensen's back in Star Wars. It's just like everyone's tying up their loose ends. It's really quite a cool thing. And then you have perhaps my favorite cast member in this is Christian Bale as Gore the God Butcher. And Christian Bale, as I'm sure all of you know, is Batman, or one of the Batmen, deciding on who your Batman is. But, it's pretty big seeing him back in a superhero movie, especially since he's the guy who said, he was in the movie where the line was, if you stay the hero long enough until you see yourself be the villain. I may have butchered that, but he is now the villain, following Michael Keaton, right? He's the second Batman to become a Marvel villain, and I gotta say, I think they both are the best villains that Marvel has. I'm trying to think, did I forget anybody? Oh, well, you have Guardians of the Galaxies. You have Chris Pratt, Karen Gillan, Palm Clemoff, Sean Gunn, Dave Bautista, and Bradley Cooper as Rocket Raccoon, and Vin Diesel as Groot. You guys know them from Guardians of the Galaxy, Guardians of the Galaxy 2, the Lego movie, so on and so forth, right? But this is not one of their movies, so we're not going to focus too much about them. But Taika Waititi, again, has taken Thor and kind of brought him on an emotional journey to try and find himself, right? Like when we last saw Thor, he's a little bit overweight, right? He was heartbroken. He was a sad character. He lost his dad. He lost the love of his life. He lost his brother. He lost his planet, right? He needs a win. Damn it, Thor needs a win. And so he's just been sailing around the galaxy with the Guardians, and that's been good for him to some extent, right? Because he's got some buddies he can lean on, and everybody needs a friend, even a god. Even gods need friends. So while Thor is trying to figure out, who he is and what he wants, and what he wants to care about and put his faith and heart in, you also have this really cool parallel where you have Dr. Jane Foster, who she herself is dealing with something. If you've read the comics or you've seen it already, you definitely know what I'm talking about. But she's dealing with something pretty heavy that's not easy to walk on your own in, right? And then somehow their paths come back together through a hammer, which is a very unique type of love story, a hammer that brought people together. Interesting. So as that's unfolding, you also have this other story of a gentleman who, not necessarily a bad guy, but he's doing bad things, named Gore, and he has his own reasons for doing it. So a certain path has been presented to him where he put his faith in something and it betrayed him. and he lost something really dear for him. So in this movie, you have a tremendous amount of loss for each character. So there's not really, I don't think, a bad guy. You just have people dealing with loss in very different ways and trying to like fill those cracks that they got in their heart. And you know, there's a lot more depth, I think, in this film versus Ragnarok, where you connect with Thor more, right? Like, Chris Hemsworth is really hulking, buff, and handsome dude. You might not think you got a lot in common with him, but like when he like just how he talks about how he feels, it's like, yeah, there's a little bit of that. I think everyone goes through. I think each of these characters, there's a little bit of something everyone goes through. But Taika Waititi does it with like humor and heart. And it's just a really, really good time. I've seen it twice so far. I'd love to go see it a third time, even a fourth time. I can't wait to buy it on DVD. I think especially the standout performance, especially for comedic relief, I never thought I'd say this, was Russell Crowe as Zeus, right? Just this like over-the-hill god who's still full of himself and takes himself way too seriously. Like, he really does a great job, and I wonder if there will be more Zeus in the films to come. But, you know, moving on to that, perhaps biased because I love Batman, the thing I want to talk about the most is Christian Bale's character. And just like, I don't know, we've never seen a Marvel villain, I think, that displays so much heart, where you also feel for them and you're kind of rooting for them just a little bit, you know, just as much as the heroes, if not a little bit more, right? Because you sympathize with that. But, you know, it definitely looks like Taika Waititi like took Jack Kirby's art to heart and just plastered it on the screen. He did a really good job blending the storyline he created off of Ragnarok and what has been done since Endgame, and just kind of enhancing Thor, like, really to be a hero that's worth watching. Because, you know, when the first two movies came out, you're just like, oh, all right, it's a superhero movie. You know, you go see it, you know, something to talk about. It was good. Well, I say good as in, like, it was okay. You know, it was a time killer. Because I thought Thor was one of the weaker ones. But now, you know, you would think over time sequels would get maybe a little stale. But I think each sequel with Thor, or as he's popped up since Ragnarok, he has become one of my favorite characters. And I really hope Marvel continues this journey, and I hope Chris Hemsworth decides to keep deep diving in with this character. And whatever you do, please keep Taika Waititi on, because he just really does a great job and really understands this character, and, you know, builds great worlds and stories for him to not only explore, but for him then to explore himself as well. So Thor: Love and Thunder is a fabulous movie. It's got a lot of heart. It's got a great soundtrack. It's a feel-good film. It's also an emotional film. It's a lot. It's a lot all in one. So I think there's something in it for everybody, and it's definitely worth watching. And if you don't like Marvel, that's okay. Go to see Christian Bale, because he kills it. But until next time, this has been the Welch Review. It was nice chatting with you again, and I'll be talking with you soon. Stay gold.